Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. I know people are busy. It's the day before Thanksgiving. Well, guys, I'm going to get started. So, if you don't know, today is my birthday. Yay! So, I'm excited. Today has been an exciting day. I'm so humbled and so grateful for everything that God is doing in my life. And so I wanted to talk today about distractions. There were several people that I could think of when it comes to distractions. And a lot of times we always talk about Samson with Delilah, how he was distracted. And then we'll talk about David and him being distracted when Bathsheba was on taking a bath. And so we're always talking about distractions. But I am going to talk about David, but I want to talk about him in a different way. So we're going to start out in 1 Samuel 16. And I'm kind of going through till 24, but it's real high level. It's going to be some chapters that I kind of just don't even discuss. Please, by all means, read this. But so we start out. God has decided that he is no longer going to be with Saul as king. So he had Samuel anoint David as king. So like I said, this is real high level. We're going to skip through. Thank you. And so when they went to go anoint David, when Samuel went to go anoint David, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. And so at that same time, the Spirit of the Lord left Saul. And Saul was now being tormented with some type of evil spirit. But and so David was he was so tormented that his men, Saul's men said, hey, listen, you need somebody that can play the lyre for you to help you ease this torment that you got going on, because it was evident to other people. And I want to make a point there. When you are not in a healed place, your demons are evident to other people. You may not think they're evident to other people, but they are for sure evident to others. It is very seen. You ever just walk in a room and you're like, you just start talking to a person and you're like, ooh, I feel the bitterness all over that person. So his people saw the demons all over him. And so one of his people said, well, Jesse's son, David, we're going to go get him. So they go and get him. David plays the lyre for him, and Saul loves him. He becomes very like, oh, this is my man, 50 grand. And so he likes him so that he becomes his armor bearer. So now you're like my right hand man, because you're able to do something for me that nobody else can do. So David and Saul's son Jonathan become besties. So they homeboys. And now we're in like chapter 18. So 1 Samuel chapter 18. We just did 16, now we're in 18. Like I said, this real high level because I just want to get to the distraction. But I had to give some background. So Saul becomes jealous of David's success. So now I'm jealous of you. And so the women start singing. Saul defeats his thousands and David his tens of thousands. So Saul like, well, wait a minute. How y'all rooting for him? I'm the king. Who you got this twisted. So he then goes from being jealous to now anger. And whenever you don't control your emotions will control you. So he becomes, and he's mad not because of what David has done. You're mad because other people see the goodness in David. So you're pissed. Like, you're mad because of who God has equipped him to be. So then David's like, okay, Saul then feels like the next step is simply for David to take over my kingdom. So now he's just outraged. And the very next day after that happens, that he says this, the very next day, the spirit comes over him and he tries to kill David with a spear that he has in his hand. He goes to chuck it at him, and David sees it and he escapes. So now, because he escaped, Saul becomes afraid of David. So now we done went from jealous to angry to afraid. Like, he's having all these emotions to somebody who hasn't even done anything to him. So David's success, he succeeds in everything he does because he has the favor of God upon him. So Saul hopes that David is killed and he offers his daughter. And he offers his daughter, but the caveat is you have to bring 100 foreskins of the Philistines. So he just knew that David wasn't going to be able to do this. But again, God is in the mix of this. He is on David's side. So not only does he bring him the 100 that he requested, he brings him 200. So you've doubled what God has asked you to bring. So Saul, like I said, he plans to kill David. Now we're in chapter 19. Like I said, we sliding through. And so his son, David and Jonathan, have a conversation, and they talk about the plan that Saul has to kill his, to kill David. And that's his homie. So he tells him, let's put a pin in there. That is something to be said, that Jonathan was such an amazing person that he went against his own father for his friend. Many of us wouldn't do that. Even though we know it's the right thing to do, God had sent him favor when it came to him and David. So Jonathan told him, listen, this is what my father was trying to do. I'm going to go talk to my dad. And he does. He talks to his father, and his father agrees. Saul, the king, says, okay, nope, I'm not going to kill David. I'm going to allow him to live. Now war breaks out, and David ends up whooping up on the Philistines again. Because remember, David back in 14, David had defeated Goliath. So they already know that the Lord is with David. But so war breaks out. He done whooped up on these Philistines. They start to flee. Saul tries to kill David again. So you done already said you're not going to do it. Now you done did it again. So we know that there's got to be some, like you said, it's some torment going on. He's just all over the place. So he does get one of Saul's daughters, and her name is Michal. And so Saul's like, listen, I'm coming to kill him. I want him. He sends his men to try to get him. And so she helps her husband, David, escape out of a window. So when they come to get him, they think he's laying in the bed, but it's really a dummy in the bed with this goat hair that's like his. I'm going to put a pin in that, and I ain't going to go too far with that, but the fact that they thought David's hair was like goat, I just want y'all to, that's a whole nother subject to study on, but his hair was like goat. Mine's straight, but when it ain't straight, it's like goat. So anyway, I just had to make that point real quick. And so, then Saul's like to his daughter, why did you, now you, my son, Jonathan is against me. Now you against me. And so she lied. She said, well, he was going to try to kill me. So David flees off, and he's in a cave. And so him and Jonathan create a pact with one another. And the pact is, so we're in chapter 20. The pact is, I'm going to let you know if my father wants to kill you. So then so Jonathan brings a young boy with him, and the code, so they got a code. The code is, if I shoot my arrow and I tell the young boy that's all of them, know that you're safe. But if I shoot my arrow and it goes further, then know that I'm saying that, you're in danger and you need to flee, and flee immediately. So that's what happens. He shoots the arrow and he says, you need to go further. So David knows that he needs to go. So Jonathan has the young man gather the arrows. He sends him back. They make a pact with one another, and, they cry because that's his man. That's his man, 50 grand. So now we're in chapter 24. So in chapter 24, David is in the same cave as Saul. They're both in the cave together. And David cuts a piece of Saul's robe. That's how close he is to him. He cuts a piece of it, but then his conscience kicks in, so he doesn't kill him. And Saul ends up leaving the cave, and he's on the road. David leaves the cave as well, and he's on the road with him. And so David bows down to him in his presence, because he still honors him for his position. And he says, Saul, like, why are you tripping? You know who I am. When you was over there tormented and twisted and twitching, and you got this demon all up in you, I'm the one playing the liar, trying to bring you back down, and you believe in these rumors and everything people had to say about me. But you know me. We've had an intimate relationship that that I got your back. Like, I'm here for you, but so Saul says, so David says, I've always had this respect for you. I didn't want to harm you. And he then shows him this piece of his robe. And he's like, look, I was this close to you. I could have killed you. Just as smooth as I cut this robe, that could have been your neck. Like I could be holding your head up. I can do it. I did it to the big Philistine Goliath. So, I can do it. David says, may God judge between the two of us. And when he does, I'm going to be on the side of right. I want to stick a pin in that. How bold is that, to know that if you ask God to judge between you and somebody else, you can stand victoriously. That's powerful. Like that's a whole sermon all in itself. Like, wow. That when I read that blew me away. And Saul then said, you are more righteous than I am. God even handed me over to you, and you still you didn't harm me. And so he said, I was your enemy and you did nothing to me. So he now is accepting that, like, I was your enemy. Like, I didn't try to kill you twice. I didn't have folks come knocking at your door trying to kill you. And Saul says, Saul says, I know that you will become the king. So the very thing he was fearing, he had to say, I know that you're going to become the king, and Israel is going to be prosperous as long as you are ruler. And he said, but let's just swear to each other. Let's make this promise that you will not wipe my name out, and that you allow my father's name to remain. So that's it. I done took y'all through everything. I chose David for a couple of reasons. David had so many opportunities to be distracted along this, and it started with, his homies. Well, even before his homies, because when, You know, the women were like, you killed your tens of thousands. Like, we got to be careful, because he could have had the puffed up head. Like, this me doing this not God. And he understood that this was God that was the reason he was successful. You know, when he killed Goliath he collected 5 stones, he only needed 1. You know, when we have God, we can do the impossible. But sometimes when we have him and we're doing the impossible, we start to think it's us more than it's a God. And we raggedy. You know, it says our righteousness is but filthy rags. So it's never a us. It's the God in us. And so we got to be careful. So, you know, and then when he was like, I'll give you my daughter, that could have been a distraction, because we know that later on, we know that David got a little wandering eye when it come to women. And so, you know, even in that case, here it is. I told you to bring me 100 foreskin. You bring me 200. And so now you got my daughter. And so, you know, and at first he was like, well, I'm just a poor man. What I'm going to do with the king's daughter? Like, you know, but Saul never really anticipated giving him his daughter. It was the objective was, I'm going to send you out there and you're going to get killed by these people. The reality is we have to always remember that God has called each of us to something higher. And my higher is different than your higher. Each one of us is called to something different. And sometimes we got to always make sure we're not looking to the right or to the left, because it's easy to get caught up in what God is doing in other people's lives, but you don't know what chains and what bondage had to fall off for them to get even where they are. You know, we just got to be so careful. And I have been victim of being that person. I've been victim of being the victim, right? Victim was what I knew. When I would respond to people, I would have victim response. Oh, this happened to me. No, I had to learn to come out of a victim mindset into okay, God, this was what occurred, but this is who you called me to be. And so the distractions of whatever it is, the way I was brought up, I mean, I tell people all the time, it's grace and mercy. I don't have a needle stuck in my arm. I praise God that I didn't get caught up in the distractions of what has occurred to me over life to go that route. Because that would have been easy to go that route. So the next thing is, we are responsible how we handle people. God calls us to how we handle people. Sometimes I wish I could cuss some people out, but then what? Now I done cussed you plumb out, and now what? Because now I'm going to be accountable for how I treated you. And we also are responsible for how we treat our enemies. I don't know if I tell y'all all my business. I don't know if I told y'all this story or not. But I remember that this guy had stole a substantial amount of money from me. We were supposed to go into business together, stole this money from me. And I remember one of my girlfriends was like, girl, you gonna see him again. You gonna see him again. And I remember praying, Lord, I don't want to see him again, because I know that your word says if I see my enemy hungry, I got to feed them. And I know that, that doesn't make sense, because it don't make sense to me, because in the book of Monique, I ain't trying to feed you. I'm trying to eat a sandwich in your face, not feed you. So, but I'm so grateful that I never saw him again. And he's since passed away. But I never, and God has that money that he stole, I have gotten 20 folds over. And so I'm just grateful that God knew me enough not to even allow me to have another encounter with him, because I ain't want to have gate trouble on my part, because I wasn't mature enough to handle him the way God said I should handle my enemies. And then next, you got to know that your success irritates people to their core. So even though David was helping Saul, I'm playing the liar while you twitching and falling out and going through. He was prophesying. He was doing all kind of stuff Saul was doing. And it still wasn't enough. He got jealous of the fact that of what God had for him, even though this man was the king. How crazy is that? I'm just the shepherd boy. I'm out here with your sheep, and you jealous of me? And you the king. We got to be careful. It's a whole lot of folks that's jealous of us just because it's us. And even though we doing good to them. So that's it. I wasn't going to keep y'all long today. I just wanted to tell each and every one of us, don't get caught up in the distractions, because it's easy to fall victim to the distractions. The distractions are all around us. My distractions are going to be different than your distractions, but we all got them. But just know that when the distractions come, it's because it's time for you to go to the next level. Are you ready? David had no idea that he knew he had been anointed, but he didn't know that he was going to be king not until 2 Samuel, when he finds out, when God says, I've called you to lead my people Israel. He didn't know, but other people knew around him. And so we got to be careful sometimes of the other folks around us, because they feel it, they see it, they know it. People can see your gifts before you see them. I remember when I was down at the Eastern Market, this man, God rest his soul, Greg, he told me, God called you to work with women. And I was like, not me. I'm too raggedy. I'm too raggedy to work with women. I'm divorced. I got a baby daddy. I got all these things against me. God don't want me to work with him at all. Not for him. Where would I have been if I had started this 5 years ago? Who knows? But I do know that where I am right here, right now, is where God wanted me to be. And I'm grateful for that. But I allowed distractions to distract me. So I just ask y'all to join me and not be distracted with the distractions, because they come when it's time for you to move up. All right, y'all. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving. Love, love, love on your family, because tomorrow is not promised. That's why it's called the present, because it is not promised. So love on your family, even those that get on your nerves, because this may be the last time you get to tell somebody you get on my nerves. So make sure that the last thing you say to them is something that you can go to bed with, knowing that you spoke to them in love. I told a young lady at church recently, she said her husband got on her nerves. I said, if you never get to talk to him, if he never makes it home tonight, was whatever y'all fussing about worth it? And she was like, no. I said, then get it right. Get it right. Well, all right, y'all. I love y'all in real life. And I thank you all for your support every Wednesday. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And maybe we'll talk about one week about that sheep hair, because that's the topic. Maybe that's for Black History Month. But I'll talk to you all later. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you, love you. Bye.